Whether you roll over your 401k into an IRA can seriously complicate or simplify your financial life. Whether you just left your employer, it's been a while since you've thought about that old 401k, or you're already retired with multiple accounts, the next few minutes will help you decide what to do. I've guided countless clients through this decision with tens of millions of dollars at stake, and today you'll meet two of them. 401k Frank, who's decided to keep his employer plan as is, and IRA Irene, who's decided to roll hers into an IRA. In the next few minutes, not only will you know who you relate with more, but you'll understand the pros and cons of each decision. And at the end, I'll share what most of my clients decide to do. Also, you can make the best decision to enhance your retirement. Let's dive in. The first benefit that a 401k Frank enjoys is that he doesn't have to take out his RMDs from his 401k plan if he still is working at that employer. Not applicable to most people, but still a consideration. The next benefit that he enjoys is the Rule of 55. Now, before age 59 and a half, you're subject to a 10% penalty plus the taxes if you take money out of a 401k or IRA. Rule 55 states that if you separate from service at age 55 or later, before age 59 and a half, you only pay the taxes. This is beneficial for someone who's taking an early retirement and wants to take advantage of those penalty-free withdrawals. The next benefit he enjoys is being able to take out a loan from his 401k, which you can't do from an IRA. Now, I'm not going to encourage anyone to keep a 401k just so they can go into more debt. But if someone needs that flexibility or is in a pinch at your certain period of life, 401k allows you to do that, whereas you can't otherwise. The next advantage is to take advantage of the net unrealized appreciation of employer stock within a 401k. You roll it into an IRA, all of that stock is going to be taxed as pre-tax basis. But if you roll that instead into a brokerage account, non-qualified account, only the basis is taxed at ordinary income, and any of the gains that you've experienced will be taxed at capital gains instead, which is a much more favorable tax bracket than having it at your ordinary income tax rates. The next benefit is that you, in certain states, have stronger creditor protection. And I'll leave a link in the description depending on which state you're in. You can reference if it makes a difference for you. Now, some of the cons that a 401k Frank experiences are there are generally higher fees in a 401k plan than an IRA. There's often an administrative fee from the custodian. There's an account maintenance fee from the platform. And in addition, many of the investment choices have higher expense ratios, just tacking on to your overall cost for not much additional benefit, if anything, in my opinion. The other con is that speaking of those investment positions, you're restricted to not many. There are the target date funds, which are more of a very cookie cutter approach, better than nothing, of course, but very narrow minded. And then you generally only get around a dozen to 20 other options that you have to choose from. And they're not horrible, but again, they have higher expense ratios and it's much more constricting than you would find otherwise. The other con is that the 401k platform doesn't really care what your tax situation is and makes you take out 20% for taxes on any withdrawals. So to make the math simple, a $100,000 withdrawal in a year, you've got to take out $20,000 in addition for taxes, even if you're in a much lower tax bracket. And that just is at risk for overpaying your taxes, which I think is applicable for most people. The other con associated with this is there's limited professional advice. Sometimes there's an advisor associated with the 401k plan, but he's spread across countless people, frankly, and is not incentivized to really look into each person's situation and is only on a reactive basis at best. The last con to consider is that when you have multiple 401ks, it can get really messy really fast. And it can be at risk of being forgotten. Not you necessarily forgetting it, but the 401k plan administrator or the employer themselves. Sometimes they'll get bought out, change custodians or platform providers. And when they change, they're not really looking out for you if you've left them to say, hey, don't forget to get your new login here or whatnot. So you may come back to your plan and realize, oh my goodness, I can't get into this. And then you're banging in a 1-800 number at an HR department that doesn't really care about your situation. And there is the risk that you yourself might forget. I have people that call us for occasion trying to hunt down their 401k plan because they haven't looked into it for years. So I find what gets managed gets improved, and sometimes not from remembering to account for your 401k keeps it from being managed. And not to mention, if you are on top of those accounts, you've got to manage multiple statements that are coming in, tax forms that come in, logins to access each account and monitor them. And the investment performance really like trying to follow a recipe to bake cookies, but you're looking at 5 different cookbooks and you're trying to make sure that they all correlate with one another in order to make one good cohesive strategy. Further down the line in retirement, you've got to coordinate the required minimum distributions, those RMDs, to make sure that you're taking care of each one and not being subject to that 25% penalty. Many times I find people come to me looking like this, feeling quite overwhelmed with trying to coordinate their investment strategy across 401ks, manage the RMDs, ensure that all the beneficiaries are the way they want, and just being able to track the logins and tax statements alone can be quite a headache. In contrast, IRA Irene enjoys lower costs off the bat. This can be by way of her ETFs that she can be invested into, or just low cost mutual funds, or maybe just even individual stocks. All three of those options generally are not included within a 401k plan. The next benefit that she enjoys are, again, nearly unlimited investment options. You can invest in nearly anything within an IRA except things like collectibles or life insurance. Ballpark's wide open, so you can invest in many other choices. The third benefit is that she can have a custom tax withholding. Remember that 20% mandatory with a 401k? You can do whatever you want instead in an IRA and be more custom to your tax situation so you're not overpaying your taxes and waiting on a refund on your interest free loan you gave the government. The fourth benefit that IRA Irene enjoys is the possibility of Roth conversions, a common tax mitigating strategy in retirement in order to lower her lifetime tax liability. The fifth benefit is just simply more simplicity with her finances, streamlining her strategy and consolidating all of her employer sponsored plans into an IRA. Now, as a caveat, there are things such as an inherited IRA and non deductible IRAs that are not subject to go into this IRA that we're talking about today. But otherwise, all of those 401k plans, even things such as a 403b and etc., can be consolidated into one simple package for her to manage. And in contrast to 401k Frank's situation with paperwork, hers looks more like this. When she goes to check on her accounts, it's as simple as check it and go. No coordinating across multiple accounts to worry about. The final benefit that I'll highlight is that she has access to professional advice, like a financial advisor. Financial advisors like myself have trouble advising on 401k plans because while we can access the statements and look at it with you in person, I'm not able to manage it on a discretionary basis, make trades for you, ensure that the beneficiaries are updated, and other planning elements that I could within an IRA that I manage for her. I'm more than happy to advise on her 401k if she has one and as a client, but there's no way I can provide nearly the same amount of value if I'm just the manager of the account itself. But there are cons associated with IRA Irene's situation, which include first, professional advice isn't free. Now, there's a variety of different fees schedules out there and ways that advisors charge, which is probably a topic for another day, but suffice it to say, she'll have to weigh her options, research, shop around, make sure she's working with one that she trusts and it feels is doing a good job for a fair price. The other con that she has to consider is that she loses that Rule 55 option. If she's in a situation where she needs access to that 401k and she's left her employer between 55 and 60, she might want to hang on to it rather than roll it over so she can get penalty-free withdrawals. The next con is that, again, can't do a loan with an IRA. The next con is that she loses that NUA, net unrealized appreciation tax treatment, but maybe that's not applicable to you because you don't have employer stock in your 401k anyway. The other con is that she may lose some creditor protection depending on the state. Again, I'll leave in the description a list for you to reference to see if it even applies in your state. And the final con that I'll suggest is that she cannot do a clean backdoor Roth IRA because the IRS wants to see no pre-tax money inside of an IRA in order to do a backdoor Roth. A little more complex strategy, topic for another day. If you've got questions, email me or leave a comment down below. By now, you should have a better grasp about 401k Frank's situation and IRA Irene's situation, and which is more relevant to you. The decision is yours, but I mentioned I share what most of my clients do, which is side with IRA Irene. Obviously, they're working with a financial advisor, but in addition, I have yet to see a client that says, I wish I didn't make my finances more simple. I like the complexity associated with it. Generally, they're looking for a more streamlined approach that is giving less room for an opportunity for error. If I've sparked any questions for you, please leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to respond. If you enjoyed this video, leave it a like. Helps other people find good content to help them weigh important decisions like this. And I encourage you to subscribe so you can receive additional free retirement content like this to help you retire well. Thanks again. See you in the next video.